So we're gonna check this video out. This is the good sister Melanie King. She's gonna be talking about Jemele Hill, talking about Caitlin Clark's WNBA salary. So let's check this out.
This outrage has began. Jemele Hill rants about Caitlin Clark's WNBA salary and situation and calls it a form of misogyny. Also, Jemele Hill, she's left upset by Caitlin Clark getting her own shoe. Guys, we're about to get into it, but Jemele Hill is on it again. We know a lot of these feminists, athletes are just raging inside. They cannot believe that this white Catholic straight girl is getting all this attention and getting all these endorsements. But at the same time, they're upset about the pay gap in the WNBA versus the NBA.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I want to see what Caitlin Clark's Nike shoe look like. I'm very interested to see what that looked like. Something tells me that I'm gonna like it, because if you didn't know, I'm into shoes. I have a whole lot of them. But the number one thing with shoes is the look. First and foremost, and then everything comes after that. Something tells me I'm gonna like Caitlin Clark's shoes. Because she's gonna have some input on them. But then, as I'm thinking my thoughts out loud, she's just a plain old white girl from, middle America. Maybe they won't be that great, but I'm gonna tell you what, I'm still interested in whatever Nike is gonna do with her shoes.
I have made several videos about the WNBA. I, as a woman, do not watch the WNBA. I don't know any women who watch the WNBA. I'm interested to see maybe now Caitlin Clark play, maybe a little bit of Angel Reese. Those are the only two names I can think of. Maybe there's some other people, maybe. But really, the reality is Caitlin Clark is the draw. She is the marketable person. She is the person that people like. She is the player that
nobody watches the WNBA. The WNBA will get a boost in ratings for the first few games where Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is playing. I don't know what that schedule is like the first week, month, whatever the case may be. That's it. It's OV after that.
People want to see. And I have said for so long, and there have been reports about this, about other players saying this, that there is a lot of pettiness, greed, backbiting, and a lot of underhanded things that goes on in the WNBA. I say they have a marketing problem. Most of them are led by big, burly, lumberjack looking women. They're not marketable. They don't really appeal to America's families, and they don't want to. They want to appeal to who they want to appeal to, which is people like them, which is a very small market. And even that small market doesn't support them. They refuse to listen to anybody. They don't want to change the height of the rim. They don't want to change the size of the court. They don't want to do anything. They just demand on their welfare. They want welfare from the NBA. They want men to pay them money and give them money, okay, just for existing, because this is their dream. And you must support a feminist dream, and that if men don't, it's misogynistic and they're part of the patriarchy. So they know that they just demand that they make this money regardless if they have a product that people want to buy. So because they do it, it must pay. And if anyone doesn't support them, well, it's misogyny. Not that they are bankrupt, not that the league doesn't actually make any money, and that they're actually subsidized by welfare from the NBA, and that's an issue with their business practices, and that it's a league that nobody really cares about. That it's still men's fault. They don't blame women who do not support it by and large. The majority of people who support the WNBA are actually men. But even that is not good enough.
So I'm sure we've heard these things. Like she just said, the WNBA is subsidized to even exist by the NBA. Okay. The WNBA is what is it? The 501(c)(3). And it can be considered a charitable organization because if you're under that designation, you have to give a certain amount or to these charities, this, that, and the other. So that's what the WNBA is to the NBA. Now, why would they do this? The reason that they would do this is all the money that they use to subsidize the NBA, they will write that off on their taxes and they will get reimbursed for that, because in 30 years, the WNBA has never made a profit. They have all type of revenue. They got what, $60 million that they made, as opposed to the 1.7 billion with the B that the NBA has made. Quit playing. We live in America. Think about your own household. You bring in this much, you pay out that much. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So that's the way that those things work.
But let's get into Jemele Hill, because we know she's just a chock full of misandrous hate and rants against anybody who does not look like her or does not identify as her gender. So it says Jemele Hill, noted woke, Jesus, they just went straight to it. Noted woke sports journalist was worked up over the WNBA so-called gender pay gap and somehow tied it all to the misogyny, of course. Hill got heated over the online discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark's rookie contract. People were left shocked to learn that Clark, the number 1 overall draft pick this year, is slated to make $76,000 next year as part of her rookie deal. Guys, the WNBA makes no money, okay?
Oh, and not only that, we have to equate that to everyday people, but it's totally not fair at all. She's getting paid that to play a game. But the average person in the United States makes $46,000. That's the average person, men, women, regardless of whatever, makes $46,000. So $76,000 that she makes, pretty freaking good. Now she's actually taking a loss because her NIL deal, name, image, likeness deal, that she had when she was in college was $3 million plus. But even in the WNBA, that's subsidized by the contract that she got with Nike, which is 20 plus million. So all these numbers, but those people that talk about this mythical gender pay gap would only focus on the $76,000 that she's gonna make. The highest paid player in the WNBA is $280,000. That's the highest paid. Victor Wembanyama, the number 1 draft pick rookie, was paid $10 million. All right. So here's how we're gonna equivocate that. NBA 1.7 billion. Victor Wembanyama, 10 million. WNBA, 60 million. Caitlin Clark, 76,000. Makes sense to me.
But Caitlin Clark has a Nike deal worth millions, and she's also upset with that. Clark fans threw up their hands in disbelief at the upcoming women's basketball star raking in significantly less money than no-name NBA rookies. Like, how hard is this to understand and comprehend? The WNBA doesn't make any money. They're actually in a deficit. They're subsidized by the NBA. How are they going to make as much money? Most of these people complaining don't actually even go to games. They don't have season tickets. They don't buy any jerseys. They don't support the WNBA.
They don't support them.
If it's an opportunity to dunk on men and go on a misandrous rant, well, then they're going to do it. Meanwhile, Jemele Hill is oddly mad about people comparing WNBA pay against the NBA. On her X account, Jemele Hill ranted about the pay discussion surrounding Clark, the WNBA's popularity compared to the NBA on a timeline, the dangers of letting WNBA players pursue more money overseas, Brittany Griner, and called the discussions of salary differences between the WNBA and NBA a form of misogyny. These are all things we expect to hear from the infamous Jemele Hill. I'm already annoyed by this conversation because for years, WNBA players have fought for more money, Hill started. The perpetually pissed writer, whose platform is far too reliant on identity politics, made questionable declarations in her online rant. Hill seemingly protected Caitlin Clark despite having targeted Clark weeks earlier, demanding that the media spend more time highlighting black athletes instead of the white Iowa player.
When the WNBA talk about the gender pay gap and they want more pay, here's what they're basically saying. They're basically saying, NBA, your profits that you're making, you should give more of that to the WNBA. And I'm going to tell you, the NBA better not cave. They better not cave. Because just like anything, this is a business. The NBA is a business. The WNBA is a charitable organization. And here's the difference. When you're running a business, you have to project 5-6 years out. You have to do that. You have to prepare for the ups and downs, this and that. With a charitable organization, you don't have to do things that way. So the NBA, you guys better not give in. Please don't. I would rather you dissolve the WNBA rather than to give in to this type of nonsense.
And so here she is. I'm already annoyed with this conversation because for years, WNBA players have fought for more money. And when they were outspoken, so many of y'all told them to shut up or reminded them how they had no value. The NBA has had 50 years of investment, media coverage, blah, blah, blah. After 27 years, oh gosh, do I have to see the rest of this?
No.
After 27 years, the WNBA will not be the current NBA, so stop comparing them. For further context, the salary is for 4 months of basketball, 40 games. Players also receive a free apartment and a car. That doesn't make the salaries acceptable, but now you know why so many women's players play overseas to boost and supplement their income. Weaponizing this information against WNBA players is another form of...
So if they got to play overseas, what? So what? Men been doing that for years. What's the problem?
misogyny. These women have been dreaming of playing professionally in front of American audiences their whole lives. There we are with their dreams. Just because it's their dream. I dreamed of being a supermodel, but guess what? I can't do it and it wouldn't pay me. So I have to actually do something else to make a living and feed myself. They seem to think because they've dreamed of this their whole life that we owe them. Us, the average people, we owe them something because they had this dream. They don't care about the rest of our dreams. It's a game. We're not talking about brain surgery here.
Right.
And it says instead of clowning and reminding them of what they're not, buy the merchandise, go to the games and watch the games on television. Very easy to criticize when most of y'all couldn't get paid to compete at anything. This is what they do. They get nasty, it's vitriol, and now it's misogynistic. So this is the thing, guys, I want you to understand. To even have the conversation now, to compare the salaries is misogyny. But it's misogyny when people don't complain about it and voice their opinion about it. So you can't win. You are a misogynist, and I have internalized misogyny if we even discuss this in any level. But if we don't discuss it, it's also misogyny, and that we can't even compete at anything in our lives. So how are we to say anything? These are the same people that want to say, buy our merchandise, come to our games, and then look how nasty they are. Look at the vitriol that they push towards people. And this isn't just Jemele Hill, the reporter. The WNBA players have been nasty like this to people. Any type of criticism, any type of feedback, anything, they want to blame others other than themselves. Nobody told you to to play basketball. Nobody made you play basketball. That was your choice. I don't hear Caitlin Clark complaining. I don't hear her complaining at all. But let's get to the next part where Jemele Hill could not help herself and complaining even now when a woman is getting paid. But of course, because she's not a black woman, it doesn't matter because she's not the right color now. That also is an issue. You cannot win with these people. Oh, right. There's more. I can't even get to the Nike deal yet. And it says ridiculous rants on the WNBA salaries are everywhere. And in case you're wondering where the right side of the WNBA salary conversation lands, President Biden's X account put out an inane post propping up Caitlin Clark as a kind of martyr for the gender pay gap movement. What? As people discuss her...
The gender pay gap is a myth. The gender pay gap is a myth. The gender pay gap is a myth. So if you follow people who are pushing this myth to you, they think you're stupid and that you're going to believe it. There's several things we can lay down and tell you why that the gender pay gap is a myth, but we're not doing that right now.
Pockets, including the millions made from NIL, Clark is solely focused on the game. So how we got from there to misogyny can only be made possible through a signature Jemele Hill stretch of logic. They are dunking on her. People cried for the end of the pay disparity between leagues, and an idea that continually falls flat when comparing the WNBA and the NBA respective revenues. According to Statista, the NBA generated $10.58 billion in revenue in 2023. By comparison, the WNBA drew $200 million in revenue. The figure is passable until you compare it to 2022.
Revenue versus profit. They're not talking about that because revenue is just kind of like operating income, and you reduce all your expenses. And that's what I was talking about earlier. They're just talking about overall revenue.
That year, the WNBA generated $60 million in revenue, presenting a massive uptick in audiences that may quell, or Clark can keep the momentum going as the new face of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark will inevitably draw more eyes to the WNBA with her generational talent, but for sports writers like Jemele Hill, Clark's impact on the game isn't enough. Cece has to be the face of some cause. Clark just wants to win. No off-the-court absurdity required. So again, Jemele Hill is one of these very woke activists, and I mean Jesus, and she complains about everything. Everything is racist.
Right, Jemele Hill is that person, and that's how she has made her money, which is, I think that's slowly dying and slowly going away. Now, the one thing, the way that Caitlin Clark has caused for women's basketball, people like Jemele Hill and all these feminists and all that, they're going to kill any momentum. They're going to kill it. This Caitlin Clark wave might be a chance for the WNBA to actually turn a profit. But you got people like Jemele Hill, just everything is seen through some type of racial lens, which is fucking ridiculous. But that's the way she made her money. That's very disingenuous, but she continues to do it.
Everything is misogynistic. Everything is against the patriarchy, and she's one of these feminist voices that is not satisfied. She doesn't use logic. Everything is feelings based, but we know that's what they want. So I'm going to put in a separate video her rant, because this was long enough, her entire rant about the whole Caitlin Clark getting her contract and how ridiculous it is, her Nike contract. Guys, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this, and I will see you on the next one.